Hi, Bob. How are you doing?
Well, pretty good. I'm glad that you had a little respite from the rain.
Well, the rain's coming back. We're glad to see it. We need the rain here on the West Coast, and we're just so fortunate we don't get the snow or the terrible storms they're getting elsewhere. But anyway, certainly this was an exciting day on the stock market. It looks like the market's going just the way you've been predicting.
Unfortunately, yes. And I'm looking for a correction down into the Dow 6,000 to 6,600 area. It closed at 67.63, and that's the figure I gave out last week and the week before. And I think then we'll get a bouncing rally back up into the low sevens, and then from there it should go down to somewhere between 5,000 and 6,000 before the year is out. And in the next year, I think it's going a bit lower if we're lucky.
Well, now I noticed they really hit gold again today, though. I mean, that was down. Silver wasn't so bad, but certainly gold they took down, what, another $10?
Well, the spot market was down. Let me get my sheet out here. Spot market was down $3.70 to 938.80, but the outside market, which is the April contract, that's down considerably more. It was down 12.40, and gold was up strongly prior to the New York opening. So it's another example of rigging the markets by the United States government. Not only with the price of gold, they pounded on the shares as well. And at the same time, they try to keep the market from going lower, but they were very unsuccessful. And I think it's really out of their hands now. And I think gold will follow, and it's not unhealthy to have what looks to be about a 10% correction. It'll turn around and go right back up again. So that's why you invest in gold and silver on a long-term basis. You don't try to trade these markets.
Okay, fine. Well, tell me what's happening to the Swiss currency. I've got some friends over in Switzerland who say that they're having some real problems over there with the Swiss currency because so many Swiss francs have been lent in Eastern Europe, and they're not going to be able to pay them back, and that's going to have sort of a disastrous effect. What's your take on that?
Well, if the Swiss lenders don't write some of it off, and the European Union does not help the Eastern European nations, which are Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Romania, and Hungary, Ukraine. Now, they all have gotten some help, but it's not nearly enough. And the EU is going to have to do that. Now, if they don't, the EU is going to break up. And if they don't help Spain, Ireland, and Portugal, the Eurozone will break up. And, of course, I haven't even included the death patient, which is in worse shape, which is England. Of course, they belong to the EU, but on the other hand, they're not in the Eurozone. The Eurozone has 16 participants. I'll get it out. Participants, and we have about 27 in the EU.
Hold that thought. We're going to be back here in just a moment as we bring some of our other stations on board right here at Radio Liberty. Well, this is Dr. Stan here at Radio Liberty, and I guess this afternoon, as every Monday afternoon, at this time is Bob Chapman, the international forecaster, and we're talking about what's going on in the world. And, of course, we've been trying to warn people for a long period of time that the whole international financial system is coming down. Of course, Bob is one of the few people who believes, as I do, that this is all contrived. It is created. It's intentional because they want to destroy our financial system. Why would rational people want to do that? Well, as we've said so many times, because we're not dealing with rational people. We're dealing with people who want to establish a world government, and they've realized that the only way to do that is to collapse the entire world system. After all, if they left a few countries out there, intact, why they wouldn't be able to have their world government. There would always be those people who would want to be free, and we can't allow anybody to be free. We're going to have a global nation. We're going to have this great experiment, and won't it be wonderful if it works? But what happens if it doesn't work, and what will happen to freedom? So with that as a background, Bob Chapman, you pick up the story. Certainly and this is new listeners here, so you were just telling us, how far did the stock market drop today?
Well, quite frankly, I don't say this with tongue-in-cheek. It only dropped 300 points. It should have come down much more, especially based upon the performance of the financials, which were just absolutely dreadful. And I don't think I've ever mentioned this on the program before, but we recommend long and short positions in certain securities, and we recommended about 25 shorts, and they've done unbelievably spectacularly.
Well, I remember you were shorting GM and GE and then there's certainly the major financial houses, and I've watched them go down and thought, gee, I wish I'd had the courage to take Bob's advice.
Well, we have many millionaires as subscribers now that weren't before. And we got one fella who's worth about $50 million, and he started out $2 million at the beginning of 2001. So he's done quite well. But, shorting isn't for everybody. But when you're right, the results are spectacular. And there's probably never been a newsletter in the world that's ever had that many winners over a period of 10 years that we've had. It's just astounding. But we thank God for that, because we're not that smart. But anyway, the market was 300 down.
Hold that thought. We'll be right back here. Well, this is Dr. Stan, and our guest is Bob Chapman, and he's commenting that the market went down 300 points today. Of course, all the experts are saying, there's going to be a bounce. Now we've had all these wonderful pieces of legislation. We had the bailout legislation. Now we've got the budget. And ladies and gentlemen, they're talking about a deficit that they will admit to for about $1.75 trillion. Remember that the biggest spender we'd ever had was Ronald Reagan. This was back in during the 1980s, and over an 8-year period, he actually increased the federal debt $1.7 trillion. They're going to have a $1.75 trillion deficit in the year 2009. If we're lucky, it'll probably be much higher than that. So you go ahead and pick up the story there, Bob.
Well, the deficits are fiscally, as well as the money that's coming out of the Treasury and the Fed, is so colossal. It's beyond imagination. And there is no light at the end of the tunnel in regard to this continual creation of money and credit. And these people who are in charge, Larry Summers and Paulson before him, they're all members of the Illuminati, and they know, and they have read the same history that Stan and I have, and they know that this won't work. And so they're buying time until they can coordinate what they want to do in regard to the program that they've got set in place for the domination of the world and the incidence of world government. And I think what they're waiting for here and gaining time for is they want to get this conflict, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, Iran, Syria, Lebanon, and Gaza. They want to get them all in flames at the same time. And then, of course, they'll draft and take people over there, and people will be more concerned about whether they're going to survive it or whether they have a job or not. And so I think that's the course things are going to take. And I picked up a tape today of a speaking engagement by two gentlemen from the Council on Foreign Relations,